In the soft light of early morning, the water of Green Bay lies almost still. A thin creek slips out of the woods and into a sheltered cove. Somewhere beneath the surface, a trout turns. The splash is small, but it carries across the quiet. This place has always answered to fish. Long before any map carried the words, Fish Creek, Menominee, and Ojibwa families knew the little harbor as Ma-Go-She-Conning. Trout fishing, they came for the cold, clear water and the silver flash of trout that rose in the shallows. The name was not poetry, it was simply true. In the early 1840s, a man named Increase Claflin arrived with his family and stood on this same shore. He had already been the first permanent white settler farther south on the peninsula. Now he chose the quiet cove north of the creek's mouth. For a few years the Claflins lived here, in near solitude, one cabin, one chimney, the sound of the water, the deep woods pressing close. Claflin looked at the creek and the fish that moved through it and gave the place the name it still carries. Fish Creek. Straightforward, honest. A settler's translation of what the land had already been saying for generations. For a time the name belonged mostly to the wind and the water. Then, in the early 1850s, a steamboat passed along the western shore of the Door Peninsula, and a young cooper from New York noticed a single thread of smoke rising from the trees. Asa Thorp had grown up tending locks on the Erie Canal. He understood movement, cargo, and the hunger of engines. When he saw that lonely chimney and the deep, protected harbor below it, he saw more than wilderness. He saw a place where steamboats running between Green Bay and the islands could stop and take on wood. Thorpe filed on the land around the cove. With the help of his brothers, he built the first commercial pier on this stretch of Green Bay. Axes rang in the woods. Cordwood stacked high on the dock. The steamers began to pause. Fishermen followed. Farmers cleared small fields. Families arrived by boat with their household goods and their hopes. The isolated cove became a village. There was no grand ceremony, no rival names fought over in a courthouse. The place was already called Fish Creek when Thorpe's pier rose from the water. The name simply held. It fit the trout that still ran the stream, the barrels of fish packed for distant markets, the practical men who measured their days by the tide and the timber. In 1857, the township of Gibraltar was organized, and the first town meeting was held in Thorpe's house. The village that grew around the harbor kept the name the creek had given it. Hotels appeared for summer travelers seeking cool air and clear water. The same cove that once held only Claflin's cabin now held schooners and steamers, and the voices of people who had chosen this particular shore. What remains remarkable is how little the essential truth changed. The creek still runs into the bay. Trout still rise when the light is right. The harbor still offers shelter. Visitors still come for the water and the quiet that surrounds it. The modern village of shops and galleries and inns sits on the same ground where native families once fished, and where in Crease, Claflin first spoke the English name aloud. A place is rarely named by accident. Sometimes the land itself insists. The people who arrived here, first the Menominee and Ojibwa, then Claflin, then Thorpe, and the woodcutters and fishermen who followed, simply listened. They called it Fish Creek because that is what it was, and it still is.